In July of 2018, Eleanor Millman passed away after gracing this world for 95 years. She presided over 4 generations of family members and was greatly beloved by numberless persons as daughter, sister, wife, mother, aunt, grandmother, and great-grandmother. Eleanor influenced many lives for the better. She is remembered by friends, neighbors, and others who will never forget her kindness and cheerful nature. This is a tribute to a woman who was exceptional in many respects. Eleanor Myrtle was born to Fred Koenig and Eleonora Huber on June 15, 1923. As the eldest of 2 girls and 1 boy, she seemed destined for a life of motherhood from the very start. Koenig means king in German, and her parents raised her with a decorum befitting a princess. Fred Koenig himself was a son of Fritz Koenig and the grandson of Otto Benninghoff, German immigrants who settled in Staten Island, New York, near the end of the 19th century. Fred's family included his mother, Augusta Bertha Gerner, a fraternal twin brother, William, and a sister named Margaret. The family settled in Tottenville, at the southernmost tip of Staten Island. It also happens to be the southernmost town in New York State. Young Fred Koenig served in the artillery in World War I. After the war, he owned and operated one of the first gas stations on Staten Island. Eleanor was given her mother's name. Her mother's pedigree traces back through the Huber line to grandfather Otto Joseph Huber and grandmother Amelia Benninghoff. As a young girl, Eleonora Huber learned to play the violin and the piano. Cooking, sewing, homemaking, and other skills were passed on to her daughters. Eleanor Jr. inherited several of her mother's characteristics, including identical handwriting and musical talent. Eleanor became a highly accomplished pianist and organist. As an adult, she served as ward organist for many years in several Mormon wards. Her playing was especially melodious and uplifting. Eleanor was a happy child, as evidenced by her iconic smile that seldom left her face. Her pleasant disposition and good cheer made her a friend to all who knew her. In 1925, Eleanor's sister Alice was born, followed by Robert in 1928. They were a happy family with lots of play and laughter. Several years later, in 1941, Eloise completed the Koenig family. 18 years separated the 2 sisters. Eleanor excelled in school and even dreamed of one day becoming a doctor. She was an excellent seamstress and even made her own clothes. With the start of World War II in 1941, Eleanor joined a Young Women's Auxiliary. It was during this period that she met Henry Hart Millman, a dashing man 5 years her senior, who won her heart. They did not know at first that they were first cousins, related through the Benninghoffs. A few days after Pearl Harbor, Henry enlisted in the United States Navy and was assigned to LST, or Landing Ship Tank, 308. He served as a bosun's mate. The 308 saw heavy combat in all of the invasions of the European War: North Africa, Sicily, Anzio, Normandy, and Belgium. Throughout the war, Eleanor corresponded with Henry. In 1945, Henry was discharged from the Navy. Henry and Eleanor eloped. In July of 1946, Henry and Eleanor were blessed with their first son, Kenneth Alfred. Ken would grow up to become a scuba diver and served in the U.S. Navy aboard the last diesel submarine, the USS Pomadan, during the Vietnam War. Afterwards, he distinguished himself as a staff writer on several major newspapers. Like most parents of the baby boom period, Henry and Eleanor planned on having a large family, but they did not wish to raise them in New York City, so they moved to Williamstown, a picturesque town in western Massachusetts. Famous for Williams College, Williamstown is one of the most beautiful towns in the country. Henry and Eleanor bought a farmhouse on the road that leads to Mount Greylock, the highest point in Massachusetts. The Millman homestead was surrounded with beautiful fields, woods, and ponds. Henry and Eleanor's love for nature would greatly inspire the creative sentiments of their children. In 1949, Dean Allen Millman was born. He proved to be a prodigy and naturally gifted artist who achieved great acclaim in his short life. While only 13 years old, Dean rode a 10-speed bicycle alone across the United States, from Utah to Massachusetts, probably the youngest person ever to do so. Third son, Neil Howard, was born in January 1952. He had a burning passion to see the world, and starting as a young teenager, he began to hitchhike around the United States. His journeys became ever longer. Eventually, he traveled through 66 countries over the span of 3 decades. Photography and filmmaking are Neil's talents. First daughter, Lynn April, was born in April 1953. She went on to acclaim as a gifted fine artist. In 1955, David Henry was born. He also went on to a successful career as an illustrator, artist, and art teacher. The Millman family lived happily in Williamstown, where the kids never lacked for interesting places to explore. Eleanor was a devoted wife, mother, and homemaker who made sure everyone ate well, had fun, and developed their talents.